Hello, alright. This is for Miss Summer Moon Utah Wells, who is still missing, and there's still an Amber Alert for Summer Moon Utah Wells. Surrounded by tragedy and failure, yet so much light and love all at once. And we as a community here on YouTube make sure Summer Moon Utah Wells' name is surrounded by more love than hate. And that is a promise. Summer was reported missing by her parents from their home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road on June 15, 2021. Don Wells, Summer's dad, called in and advised that Candus, Summer's mom, had gone for a walk, and when she came back, Summer was gone. The 911 call was made around 6:26 p.m. on June 15, 2021, and police arrived around 7 p.m. to begin searching for Summer. For maps see cracking cases on YouTube. Amber Alert: Summer is still missing. She's a white female, thin. She has straight blonde hair and bright blue eyes. Her head was shaved at the time of her disappearance. She is likely around 3.5 feet tall and around 40 pounds. She could easily have been mistaken for a boy if her head is still shaved. Summer is likely missing one front tooth on her right top, and anyone with credible tips or information regarding Summer's whereabouts is urged to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. You can visit www.tbinewsroom.com for Summerwell's case facts and updates. The people that were allegedly with Summer the day that she was reported missing were Candace Bly, which is Summer's mother, Candy Harrer, who is Summer's grandma, Hunter, who was Candace's 15-year-old friend slash ex-best friend's son, Summer's three older brothers who were allegedly at home when Summer arrived back home for the day before being reported missing, Don Wells, who's Summer's father, and Allison Harris and Leslie Hill alleged to have seen Summer momentarily June 15th of 2021. If there is a cover-up and Summer went missing before June 15th, that would mean that all of these people are in on it. We don't know what the three minor boys have told law enforcement, and we don't need to know as much as we might want to because they need to be protected as much as possible. Allison Harris could just be inserting herself for attention or to make herself look like she was present for the children, because maybe she wasn't actually present. Maybe she was. She did end up losing custody from what I have heard. Allie also said Summer got changed into her bathing suit at her house, then retracted that later and said she didn't get changed at her house, went on a live with Andrew Hilt. Andrew is Hunter's father. He is from New York. He was living with Jose Roman, who was a part of Summer's life a year or so before she was reported missing. This is Jose Roman. This is from Chris McDonough's The Interview Room. Um, the video is the Summer Wells case, a chat with Jose. It's the interview room with Chris McDonough. So this was streamed 9 months ago, but you can find it on there. That's Josh from the lab right there, and that's Jose Roman, who lived at 110 Ben Hill Road previous to Summer going missing. So he said, am I right or wrong with Don that there's SA stuff going on? Hey, um, is my sound okay? I'm gonna turn my Bluetooth off.
Is my sound better now? Innocent until proven guilty. Hello. Hello, no, no. Hello, Denise. Who said what? Sound is good? Okay. Alright. I was just trying to show whose Jose Roman was. That was just the point of that video. If you couldn't hear it, I'm sorry. I don't know why it does that when I play YouTube video back on StreamYard. So, anyways, he was living with them between, I think, April of 2020 and October of 2020, I think. But I don't know. That's kind of unclear. It's unclear exactly how long Jose stayed at the Wells property, anywhere from several weeks to a few months to 6 months. Jose came down to Tennessee from New York with Andrew and a U-Haul and a van full of people. They were moving a whole house worth of furniture and stuff from New York to Tennessee because Andrew thought he was buying a house when he got down here. When he asked Chris McDonough, or I'm sorry, when asked by Chris McDonough of the interview room and Josh from the lab if it was a drug run, he insisted it was not. Jose insisted it was not a drug run. They allegedly took their belongings to a storage unit and got a phone call that the deal fell through. So Andrew and everyone else packed back up and went back to New York. And Jose said adamantly that he was staying in Tennessee. He wasn't going back to New York. He wanted to just start from scratch here in Tennessee. He ended up meeting Candus through Hunter's mom and moved straight in with them. Jose made Summer's life seem better when he was around. He says he cooked and cleaned and helped take care of the kids. He says he begged Candus to leave Don and not let him back around her in the house, and she allegedly swore she would, yet we see that didn't happen. Candus actually ended up dropping charges on Don and filed a motion which got Don out of jail after the domestic incident with Jose Roman there, October of 2020. Jose says Don threw a beer bottle at him and chipped his tooth. Jose makes Don sound like a very bad guy. Jose, like Jody Sue does, makes Don sound like a very bad guy. Jose says Grandma Candy and him talked the whole way to Rock Hill, South Carolina, where he drove himself in Grandma's truck after he made the choice to leave Ben Hill. So Grandma must have really trusted him because she let him drive her truck, and she doesn't seem like the kind of person that would just let somebody drive her truck that far, you know? So Grandma allegedly let him drive her truck there. Then she drove herself back to Ben Hill. On the way to Rock Hill, Grandma told Jose how controlling and mean Don is. She says Don wouldn't let Candus make meals that she wanted to make, and he would spend money on other things instead of food. I believe Candy Hair wants Don locked up for the rest of his life. I believe she knows Don is toxic to Candus and the kids, and she wants him gone. Jose says he left Beach Creek because he knew him and Don would butt heads whenever Don came back home, which I'm sure they would. They already did. Jose's take on Candus was a lot different than Allie's take on Candus. Allie, her mother, her grandmother, and Leslie Hill, who were all interviewed in regards to Summer Wells by Chris McDonough, all talked negatively about Candus. Leslie said she stopped talking to Candus because of the way that she done her kids. Leslie, who has now passed away, may she rest in peace, tells a story of Candus making her two oldest sons get out of the pool on a hot summer day and lay flat on their bellies on the hot blacktop for horsing around in the pool. Leslie also says Summer was seen on camera footage from outside Allie's house on June 15th, but I don't know why they would tell her that, and I'm not sure if it's true, but why wouldn't they show the footage to the public if they had it? Also, Leslie claimed that she saw Summer on June 15th outside of Allie's house. Leslie said she reported to the TBI and FBI that she saw Summer in the truck June 15th of 2021. Also, Leslie is not the only person to pass away in the last year that is connected to Summer's case. Jose Roman also passed away. I'm unsure how he passed away, and when it happened, it didn't seem like anyone wanted to talk about it. Jose says the TBI interviewed him, and when he asked if they thought he took Summer, they allegedly told him, "No, we know you didn't take her." I find it odd that he says TBI told him this. I doubt they would. Maybe I'm being too nitpicky. Also, I find it a strange coincidence that two people connected to Summer's case have passed away so close together after speaking out online about Summer's case. Jose spoke badly about Don, and Leslie spoke badly about Candus. I can't speculate further on that right now because that's a whole rabbit hole, and this is for Summer, but I find it very ironic. Jose did give us some insight on Summer, if you can believe what he has said. He says she was so tiny he called her half pint. He says Summer was a little firecracker and she loved to play outside and she was always covered in dirt. He says Summer was kind and that she wasn't shy. Jose says Summer just came right up to him the first time he ever met her. He says everyone made him feel very welcomed to the point where he was brought to tears. Jose speaks of being very depressed and struggling with a lot of anxiety. This makes me wonder if his cause of death was mental health related. He could have felt a lot of guilt if there's a lot more that he knew aside from what all he told. You know what I mean? Jose says he is full of regret for not picking up the phone and calling welfare and saying, "Hey, this is how these kids are living. There's violence and drugs, etc." Yet, he said he never seen them doing drugs. But at the same time, he said, "Hey, this is how these kids are living. There's violence and drugs." So, obviously, he's seen something. He also spoke of Summer getting lost a lot outside the property at 110 Ben Hill. Jose said Summer was always playing hide and seek and hiding in an old fridge and the wells had in the front yard. You know the fridge. He said Summer loved her swing and she loved to play. Her swing was her go-to. He says the basement was full of toys and he thought it was a playroom. So it looked a lot different apparently from the time Jose came there to the time Chris McDonough came there. Because when Chris McDonough came, it didn't look like a playroom or a bedroom at all to me. Andrew, his wife, his children, Jeff, Andrew's cousin, his woman and her 3 children, Jose and 2 other people who were Jeff's friends, a husband and wife, all went down to Tennessee together. So that's a lot of people. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people. Yeah. They all went down to Tennessee together to move into this alleged new place. So all these people came all the way down from New York to Tennessee, which I know is a several-hour, practically day-long ride, to move into a house all together that they didn't even know for sure that they had yet. Not one of these people thought to make sure it was all good before they packed everything they own, an entire home worth of all these people's belongings, to drive down with children and move, but they didn't know if it was for sure. Sounds fishy to me. Jose said he was going through a lot of problems waiting on his contract to go back to work as a seafood processor on a fishing boat in Alaska. So he was really stressing about that he had these problems. Like when he's asked certain questions, he's like, "Yeah, but I really had these problems too, though." Excuse me. He just had to wait for his paperwork to come back, apparently, so he could get back on this fishing boat in Alaska. He says he was so depressed and drinking all the time and missed the opportunity with it. He says Jeff had a job established down in Tennessee, so Jose figured he could just go down to Tennessee and start fresh and get a job too. Then he says everything started to fall apart. He had just been released from the mental health ward in Albany Medical, where he was for almost 3 weeks. His wife just left him, I believe, for another man, and he was just depressed and wanted to start over. He said he went down there the whole way in the back of a U-Haul. He said it was full of furniture, and he sat on the couch the whole time, the whole way there. Excuse me. He said the first place they all went was to the storage unit to sort some things out and put everything away because they had to give the rented van back. So they went straight to the storage and unloaded it. They sat there and waited for an hour before they could get into the storage unit because apparently it wasn't open when they got there. Then they were supposed to leave, but while they were unloading, they found out the house didn't come through. So they tried to at least find a hotel. He said Jeff already had his transfer to a new job and he didn't want to lose it. So the house fell through and Jose decided he was just going to stay. Everyone else wanted to get a hotel though. He says Andrew called Allie to get hotel suggestions, and a half hour later, they met Allie at a Dollar General for some reason by the storage unit. I'm not sure why they met her there, if she was letting them borrow money or what, but she said she could help them find a place to stay. So maybe that was her way of helping. I don't know. And Candus was there with Summer, Allie, and her kids, allegedly. I think it might have just been her one oldest daughter that was with her. Jeff said they were just going to go back to New York and say screw the hotel. He said they would have somewhere to go when they all got back, but Jose wouldn't. But they said they would try to figure something out for him. Jose said his anxiety and depression started to kick in really bad, and he just said, Andrew, I'm not going back. He said they were all shocked. Jose said to Andrew, please call Allie and ask if I can stay, and that's when Candus said, you can stay at my house. So Candus, Grandma, Allie, and the kids turned around and picked Jose up and drove to Ben Hill, and he stayed there from, I'm assuming, around April of 2020 until going to South Carolina in October of 2020. This to me says a lot about Candus. Candus also said he went to North Carolina, not South Carolina, so for some reason it seems like she must not have wanted people to know about him or to find him. But she just lets anyone around her and her children and in her home, and she can have enough trust in a total stranger to let them move into her home with her children and her children in the home. In a home which she knows there is no private bathroom, where there is virtually no privacy at all, and already not enough space and resources, and she just lets a random stranger move in, no questions asked. What was Candus getting out of this? Him cooking and cleaning? That's alarming to me. It's also alarming to me that Allie let her children up on the hill after not being able to get them off the hill before. She had to call the sheriff's office to get someone up there to get her kids back. Then she still let her kids go with Candus. And didn't Allie live there during the time frame that Jose lived there also with her kids? Here's the 911 clip. Allie speaks on Candus's behavior and state of mind. This call was made previous to Summer's disappearance. It was leaked publicly September 26th of 2020. Can you try to be quiet?
The following audio happened on September 26th of 2020. I was able to obtain this 911 call. I've been saying that.
All right. This video is from Chronicles of Olivia. It's titled 911 Call to Ben Hill Road. And I'm going to start it at...
At a friend of mine's house for... I have an issue at hand. I've been staying at a friend of mine's house for a little over...
She says, I have an issue at hand. I have been staying at my friend of mine's house for a little over a week now.
I have my one daughter home with me back in the city of Kingsport. Right now we're sitting at Dollar General off of Lone Star Road.
So I don't know if this was when she was staying at Candus's house for a little over a week and then she left and they wouldn't let her kids leave, or if she was staying somewhere else at this time.
And my oldest was taking her up at my friend's house. And the reason why they're still up there is because when I went to leave this morning for work, because there was a confrontation last night between us all, and then this morning when she woke up, she was very confrontational about.
So she's saying the oldest child is up there at her ex-friend's house. So at this point in time, she's already saying that they're ex-friends. And the reason they're still up there is because when she went to leave this morning for work, there was a confrontation that night before between us all. And she was very confrontational that next morning about the night before. So she had to wait until her mom got away to bring her to work. So who was confrontational with who? Because she says, wait until her mom got away to bring me to work. Whose mom? Candus's mom? Because she was being confrontational too.
And she said, and she basically threatened me, threatened anyone who came up to the house, she would blow their heads off. She's bipolar. She's very, very... Okay.
I know I've heard, I think it might have been on Crime Stories Obsessed, where I heard Grandma say that she was bipolar. Candus is bipolar.
Okay, so what do you need from us? I need someone to go up to her house to get my two children.
So she needs someone to go up to Ben Hill and get her two kids, being, you know, Hunter and True.
Okay, does she have any, like, if they're split custody or anything?
They're just asking if she has split custody or anything like that, and ask where are they at, and she says they're at 110 Ben Hill, and they're 14 and 15 years old. She says she's sitting at the Dollar General, and she just waits, and they're talking about where it's at. She's trying to explain to them where it's at, basically, the rest of the time. And they're like, okay, we're going to have somebody call you. And that's the rest of the call. And then, oh, I have to go back. I lost my document. I had to pull it back up. All right. It's unclear exactly how long he stayed there, anywhere from several weeks to a few months. Yeah, we read that part. Where was the next clip? Listen to the lovely background noise while I find my place, because I lost my spot. Oh, here, we'll just do this because this looks like right about where we were. Yeah, when he says, No, we know you didn't take Summer. I find it odd that the TBI told him this. I doubt they would. Maybe I'm being too nitpicky. Also, I find it strange that two people connected to Summer's case have passed away so close together after speaking out online about Summer's case. Jose spoke badly about Don, and Leslie spoke badly about Candus. And I didn't want to speculate further on that right now because I said I would go down a rabbit hole. Yeah. I was wondering if his cause of death might have been mental health related. And how he was saying, hey, this is how these kids are living. There's violence and drugs. So he was admitting that he's seen drugs even though he said he didn't. And then the people that went down there with him were Andrew Hiltz, his wife, their 2 children, Jeff, who's Andrew's cousin, his woman, and her 3 children, Jose, and 2 other people who were Jeff's friends, which were a husband and a wife. Those were all the people that went down there together to get this house that they didn't even know for sure if it was going to be theirs. And they moved down there with all their stuff, just hoping that it was going to work out. That sounds a little fishy to me. That just sounds fishy to me. I know, babe, that's what drug addicts do, but sometimes, but I'm just, you. Well, I found my spot. 20 minutes later, Allie speaks on Candus's behavior and state of mind in that call, which I thought spoke volumes. Allie did speak of Candus's meeting random dudes at gas stations and bringing them home. And this makes me wonder if Don was running a flop house and Candus was just along for the ride, bringing them in, making Don business. And because they were getting intoxicated every night, so they couldn't be there for each other or their children, yet they were all each other had. So she just stuck with him and was just along for the ride, you know? And it's truly sad to think about. And when Don wasn't there, I think Candus still partied and brought whoever had something to offer in her home. Like, whoever had something to offer, she would bring them in their home. What did Jose have to offer, though? Jose moved in and said the house was in bad condition. Jose speaks of the bathrooms not having a door or walls. It was just the toilet, he says. The shower and the sink. They would say, don't worry, nobody's going to go back there. So he would just go. I wouldn't be able to do that. I would just go outside. Because in the woods out there, you could look out. Because on Cracking Cases, they went out there and Allie was standing like behind a tree and Cam was on the other side waving to her and she couldn't even like see him. They couldn't even see each other. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, that'd be a better door. That'd be better privacy. Just shoot, use a bucket outside. Be better off. But anyways, he said that's when he started to observe how messy and dangerous the house was for the children. He says the house was clustered and there wasn't anywhere to put his stuff, and that's when Candus showed him down to the basement and told him he could keep his stuff down there. He says the steps were dangerous with nails poking out. Then Jose noticed all the children's toys down in the basement and assumed it was a playroom. He says the blue couch was down there and Don and Candus's mattress was down there on cinder blocks. He said there were also bunk beds there. Excuse me. He said there was a little mattress on the floor for the kids to sit on while they were playing on the floor. Jose said Summer's favorite candy was the big peppermint balls. I'm assuming he means the Lindt peppermint balls, which are my favorite. Right, babe? The Lindt peppermint balls, the white peppermint balls.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my favorite, huh?
Yeah, those are good.
He said staying at the Wells was like a big slumber party, which I find alarming. Because there's 4 kids there.
Yeah, told to say that.
and Candus. And so if it's like a big slumber party and it's just 4 kids and Candus, because Don was in Utah most of the time, but even if, let's say, throw Don in there and it's just a big slumber party, that's weird. So how many people did she really have living there? You know what I'm saying?
With kids. Ugh.
Babe, get out. Trigger warning. He said Allie stayed there a lot too. Allie at one point lived with Candus. There's rumors Allie wanted Jose and was mad at Candus for trying to take him. Jose said everyone had sleeping quarters stocked out, but from what it sounds like, you would be lucky to have a place to sit, let alone sleep every night. I'm not judging, I'm just observing. Jose says this was not a trap house. It sounds like it could have been. Jose also says Candus drank liquor every night after 5 p.m. Jose said Candus and Don fighting sparked it to go from every few days to every day drinking. She said most of the time she ever called was Don. The most of the time that she ever called Don was for money, for food, for the house, but they would just fight. And then Don wanted Candus out in Utah, and Candus was completely against it. She wanted to stay on Ben Hill. Don was in Utah with Josie, leaving Candus home with Wyatt, Waylon, and Summer. Jose did what? Jose said there was no dope on Ben Hill, just alcohol and cigarettes. Not in front of him, he says. He says he never saw anybody using drugs intravenously when asked by Josh from the lab. I find that hard to believe. He said the kids would just play video games and play outside and make themselves food when they were hungry. Yet he also says he cooked while he was there. So which is it? Because he says the kids would just play video games and play outside and make themselves food when they were hungry. But yet he also says he cooked while he was there. So, I don't know. I guess sometimes he cooked and then maybe sometimes he didn't. Jose says the kids would say, Mom, I'm hungry, and Candus would tell them to heat up a pizza. Yeah, good night. Oh, you Frank. Don't worry about what my husband's looking for. He's getting ready for bed. Jose says the dogs came and went, but whoever came on the property, they would come up to you. Cracking cases, I know I'm mentioning them a lot tonight, and I didn't really do that on purpose. It's just for some reason they keep coming up a lot. I don't know why. But I like cracking cases. I really do. I love them. But they do a video down the trails at the Wells property that are so valuable. And if you haven't seen them, please check them out. I'm subscribed to Cracking Cases. I love Allie and Cam is cool too. Jesus said it took the dogs 2 or 3 days to get used to him. They don't rush you once they know you, he says. They only growl and bark at people they don't know. Jose says he was always the first person to fall asleep at night. He would just go downstairs and sleep, and everyone else would be up in the kitchen dancing and laughing and playing music with the kids running around, playing video games and watching TV. He says the kids played hide and seek, tag, played with the football and soccer ball, and rode their bikes. He says the kids' favorite thing was the dirt bikes, but Candus always made them wait for Don to get home before letting them ride them. He says the first time that he saw Summer in the fridge outside where she would hide, it freaked him out because she thought she was going to get locked in there. He said he remembers the boys running outside asking if he has seen Summer, and he got up to help find her, and he saw Summer peeking out of the door of the fridge. He was freaked out. She saw him and shut the door, and he thought she was going to be locked in there. He said the boys were like, "Oh, you found her. She's in there again." So apparently Summer and the boys hid in the fridge a lot. The same fridge Don beats on with a stick on the news. Jose seems to remember a lot of small details. He says Candus gave up arguing with Summer about hiding in the fridge. He says the kids weren't really rough, but they were a little bit. He tells a story of Waylon falling and scraping his knee. He makes them sound like normal, happy kids. He says Summer's go-to was her swing. She was constantly on her swing. She always had no shoes and no shirt swinging on her swing, Jose recalls. Jose calls Summer a bundle of joy. He says it's weird for him to call her Summer because he always called her Half Pint. It sounds to me like he starts to cry when he says this. He says Hunter played games with the kids and played with Summer on her swing, too. Jose says Hunter and Summer playing was just casual, like normal kids would interact with each other. However, Jose said when he saw the inside of the Wells home, he was like, I've got to get out of here. But he had nowhere to go. That's what he told Josh from the lab and Chris McDonough. He said it was messy and cluttered, and there were pipes hanging down and made it sound uncomfortable and dangerous. He says Grandma didn't have a phone at the time, so Grandma must have just recently gotten a phone before Summer went missing. We know Grandma had a phone allegedly when Summer went missing because Candus says she used it to call Don and 911, and she also Grandma also put minutes on her phone at Warriors Pass State Park on June 15th, according to Hunter. When Jose was asked about his timeline in Tennessee, he says he doesn't know. Go figure. He said there is no sense of time at the Wells home, and it was just country living. He tells Chris and Josh it felt like months and could have been around 6 months. That means he came in April of 2020, approximately. Jose says the first time he was interviewed by the FBI was about a week after Summer went missing. He says they first went to his son's house looking for him. He says their main focus was Don and Candus. He says they were asking questions regarding if they had abused Summer or caused any physical harm to her, any bodily harm. He said not Candus, but maybe Don. He said she used to get out of the house a lot, though. He said that's why the blue couch was in front of the door, so she couldn't get out. The lock was broken on it, apparently, and they lost the key. He says Don and Candus were told by everyone around them that they were concerned about Summer getting out of the house. Jose claims what he said to the TBI when they first questioned him was, "Did Summer get lost again?" He says they should have watched Summer more often and more closely. And he says if Hunter was there, he would be the first one there for her when Summer would get outside by herself. 1 second, I gotta tell my husband to let the dog in, okay? Hey, Cat's Eye. Beverly. One second. Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry, I had to make sure he let the dog in because I heard the dog out there. It's not as cold as it's been, but my dog doesn't do cold or wet, and it's wet here right now, so he's like, yeah, let me in. He's a big baby. He's a big 100. He weighs 100 pounds. He's supposed to be on a diet. He's a pit bull, but he's the biggest baby. Anyways, he says if Hunter was there, he would be the first one there for her when Summer would get outside by herself. I believe Summer played outside by herself probably every single day. Jose says one time Summer got all the way to the end of the driveway by herself and Don grabbed her up, pulled her pants down, and beat her butt the whole way back up the driveway. That makes me so mad. Seriously, that really makes me mad. And that's a long driveway. Jose says when Don came back from Utah, he saw some actions that were problematic with Don and his children. He said the more and more he spoke out, the more and more Don didn't like him. I wonder what all he spoke out about exactly. What all did he exactly say to Don? I wonder. If only we could know that. Jose said he didn't think Don was sexually assaulting Summer in the bathroom, but he thinks it is disgusting to shower with your daughter. He said he went in the bathroom while Summer was in the shower with Don, and he hollered, "Summer, come out here, baby," and got her out and got her a towel, her pink princess towel that allegedly was her favorite towel, and they had to wash every other day because she used it every day. And she was always really dirty, apparently. And it made it sound like he saved her from Don, and Don got very upset about it. He said Candus just acted like it was a normal everyday thing and it didn't bother her one bit that Summer and Don showered together every day. Remember, Don says Candus doesn't ever shower. That's why he showered Summer every day, because they slept together and he didn't want her to be sticky because she was always sticky. Don allegedly showered all the kids at once. Let me make sure chat's cool. Hey, no. Cat's Eye, Beverly Vineyard. I hope I'll Be Frank has sweet dreams. Yeah, just don't worry about what my husband's doing. That's fine. It's all good. Anyways, I was just seeing what was popping off in chat. So TBI has talked to Jose, and Jose has passed away. If Jose had anything to do with Summer's disappearance, I would be surprised. I believe he was just a man that was lost inside, inside his soul, and didn't have it in him to even care for himself. I'm not hating on the guy or making fun of him in any way. I, in a way, have empathy for him and can feel for him, because he just felt like he just didn't have that any oomph. He just didn't have it in himself, probably. And that's probably why he didn't feel like he could be on his own and hold his own and take care of himself. And that's probably why all these people were all together in the first place, if I had to venture to guess, if it really wasn't for drugs. But that's just my opinion. He probably didn't even ever want to be alone. A lot of people feel this way when they're suffering from major depression and anxiety. And that's not a joke, and it's not something to take lightly. And if you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health and you need someone to talk to, help is just a text away at 988. That number is 988. Don't ever be ashamed to text or call that number. Out of all these people, I believe Jody Sue Brown may have also been around Summer on the day she disappeared. I believe more people were around Summer that day on June 15th of 2021 than what they are telling. I just have a gut feeling that Jody Sue Brown is lying about a lot pertaining to Summer. All of these people are technically suspects, except the boys, I would imagine. I'm gonna say the boys are not suspects, but witnesses, yes. All of the adults involved in this are all suspects. Any one of them, if not all of them, could know exactly where Summer is and know what happened to her. One of them has got to know where Summer Moon Utah Wells is, and if she is okay. And it's time they find a way of letting law enforcement know. We all love Summer. How can you not love her enough to get her justice? Justice for Summer Moon Utah Wells. Anyone with info regarding Summer's whereabouts is urged to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. This is Summer Moon Utah Wells. I feel like there's something underneath her shirt in this photo. Right here. It looks like it could just be the seatbelt, but why would it be under her shirt? I've always thought that. Or it looks like it was grabbed right here. It was like somebody grabbed her and moved her up like this. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to me. Pretty girl. Yep, she had her head shaved, so they put a bow on her head. Or she would look like a boy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what it is. So they put a bow on her head, which makes me feel like it was a punishment because she's always wearing a bow on her head. Like, they don't want her to look like a boy, but if she wanted to look like a boy because she shaved her head, then why didn't you just let her look like a boy then? You know what I mean? Either way, she's beautiful, and you can't mistake those eyes. Summer, we love you. We're never going to stop looking for you. I don't have anything better to do until my son wakes up, until my kids need me. I have nothing better to do, honey. And I'm going to look for you. Oh, hello. Marshmallow kisses. Hi, hun. Hey, Footloose. Hey, Wandering Hearts. How are you? So yeah, that was all the notes that I had on Summer. So you can't hear this?
Said about running up on that. Sign off. What do you think?
None of them. It's the first time I ever met them. You know, to
Can you hear that? Because when I played it earlier, there was no sound. Don't know why there would be sound now, but anyways, I hope you guys could hear the 911 call.
The following audio happened on September.
This is how I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this by showing some pictures of beautiful Summer Moon Utah wells. And I'll mute out. And we'll just have a moment to look at Summer. I hope everybody has a great night. Thank you for being here and caring about Summer Moon Utah Wells when she doesn't have a family that's out here looking for her and fighting for her and speaking for her. I appreciate you guys a lot. All right. I hope y'all have a good night.